Hari Om Ji. Start. You can hear everyone.
Yes, Didi.
I can hear. Yes, I can.
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ते परम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणा नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरा सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ॐ सहनातु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवा तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Welcome to the class, everyone.
हरि ओम दीप्ति जी, हरि ओम।
Namaste. Yes, namaste, everyone. Okay, I'll chant today 55 to 58. Sthita Arjuna Uvacha Sthita Pragnasya Ka Bhasha Samadhisthasya Keshava Sthitadhi Kim Prabhasheta किमासीत व्रजेत किम् श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वीतरागभयक्रोधः स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते यः सर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम् नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता यदा संहरते चायं पूर्वोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता So we are seeing the lakshanas of a person who has Atma Vidya and established in it, as a result of which there is a complete change within a person from a standard mean. A standard mean means a standard behavior, a standard vyavharik responsiveness that is a generalized vyavharically seen as people who have desires and people who have ignorance of their own nature, who have jivatva bhav expressing as individuals, and that alone is the identity, then there is a certain standard mean of response that is seen in the world. Like I gave the example in the class before, that even a cow, if you show her a stick, she will have fear, and if you show her a garland, she will come closer to you. So these are natural responses that have a standard acceptance of behavior because they come from a sense of identity, a sense of individuality that a person experiences. So what happens when there is Atma Vidya? When there is absence of Atma Vidya, we call it avidya, state of avidya. Absence of Atma Vidya is a state of avidya. And that avidya's lakshan is, expression is the sense of jivatvam. In that sense of jivatvam, which is a common accepted norm in the society, because everyone seen with birth as born is a jiva, has a remnant of avidya. Avidya is there because of which it becomes the cause of birth. So birth itself is implying that there is avidya sheshaha. Sheshaha means there is avidya and an opportunity to exhaust the karmas and response behavior, an opportunity to live out their karmic life, and also an opportunity to strengthen the vidya. Come out of means grow out of avidya, strengthen vidya, gain vidya, establish in vidya, atma vidya, because of which you cut away the cycle of birth and death. So who is the one who is in avidya, has a birth, and who is the one who has vidya established? Her internal state will be different from the normal mean responsive nature that you identify in the world. वो जरूरी नहीं है कि सबके जैसे ही लक्षण दिखाए, वो जरूरी नहीं है कि वो वैसा ही बिहेव करे या बोले चले, उन जगहों पे जाए जहां अविद्या में लोग जाते हैं, वो वैसी ही चीज को रसपूर्वक अनुभव करे. No, when the vidya is established, the state is different from within. It's a very important portion because, as we have said, Arjun wants to know, if he is not wise, then who are these? Because in normal parlance, you don't identify them. In normal vyavharik drishti, you don't see people easily. You don't find them ideally representing the state of vidya. So क्या है वो लक्षण. And for the sake of these people, for all of us seekers, this portion is establishing that ideal state, ideal man of, person of rather, whose knowledge is established. So the first lakshana we saw was that has given up all state of kamna and is satisfied within himself by himself, doesn't have the dependency on external conditions for his state of fulfillment and his state of happiness. Tushti, अंदर से तुष्ट है. 56th verse which we started last time. दुखों में जब दुख आते हैं, in the state of dukh, does not have व्याकुलता inside. उसका मन घबराता नहीं है, अंदर से परेशान नहीं होता. For what? The Tikakars write very well. This Bhashyakar hasn't explained in details, but the Tikakar explains it. He says, for a Jnani, dukh is already a state of an accepted state of prarabdha expressing. So a question comes here, that person who has an established Atma-Gyan, do they have situations, circumstances which call for an unhappy response, which call for unhappiness, which call for a dislike is a compromised word, which call for a unacceptable situation. That's the right word. क्या जो ज्ञानी है उसके जीवन में भी ऐसी स्थिति, ऐसी अवस्था, ऐसी परिस्थिति, ऐसी सिचुएशन आती है जो दुख का कारण लगती है, दुख दिखती है, परेशान आती है. So the answer is yes. Situationally, between a jnani and an ajnani, they both will have prarabdha vasha situation. प्रारब्ध के अकॉर्डिंग सुख और दुख की परिस्थिति आती है. For both of them. There is no guarantee that just because you have an Atma Vidya, let me rephrase it, Atma Vidya is not going to is not an answer to a change of situation outside. What is the answer, direct cause of a change of a situation? परिस्थिति को क्या बदलता है? Anybody? परिस्थिति का हेतु क्या है?
Your attitude.
The way you look at it.
Your
मतलब
attitude.
it will impact नहीं करेगा उसको मेरे
No.
as
No, I'll repeat the question. Parasthiti, situation ko, what is the cause of changing a situation?
Is the cause.
Direct cause. Direct cause. What is the cause of a present situation?
karma.
Karma. Excellent. Correct. Karma is the cause of your situation. Karma brings about prarabdha phal. Karma brings about situations which are pleasant and unpleasant. This is simple. Yes, your past actions have brought in your present life, your present situation. Whatever is easy or difficult in the present situation has come about because of the past action. Karam hetu hai. Hetu is the cause. Karam is the cause of my present situation. What Atma Vidya is not going to change a situation. Many people have this misunderstanding. विद्या से हमारी परिस्थिति बदलेगी. विद्या से परिस्थिति नहीं बदलती. विद्या से हम परिस्थिति को कैसे लेते हैं वो बदलता है. What changes because of Vidya is how I see a parasthiti, how I look at a parasthiti. Avidya may I look at a parasthiti in a way that Tikakar like Madhusudana Saraswati puts it very well. He says when there is a dukkha that comes in a person, a situation which calls for dukkha, they will cry. They cry from within, or they are complaining, and they सोचते हैं. वो क्या सोचते हैं? वो अविवेकिनः दुख प्राप्त. जो अविवेकी है, अविद्या है, दुख प्राप्त, दुख प्राप्ति में सत्यम अहो पापः अहम धिङ्मां दुरात्मानम एतादृश दुःख भागिनम को मे दुःखम ईदृशम निराकुर्यात् इति. I translate this. They think, the ones who are in avidya, what do they say? They say, ओहो ओहो, हाय हाय. अविवेकी में जब दुख आता है, परिस्थिति ऐसी आती है जो दुख का कारण बनती है, वो कहता है ओहो अहो, मैं पापी हूं. I have done a great papam. I have now become a dukhi. I am suffering. I am a duratma. I am a very self-condemnation. The attitude of the outlook of self-condemnation. Dhikkar hai mujh pe. I am, what is dhikkar going to be? I am to be looked down upon. Who is going to help me to resolve this dukkham, etc., etc. There is a self-judgment on oneself, calling oneself dukhi and a papi, etc. This is aviveka avastha. Avidya is the current for a difficult situation. But in avidya, if there is a viveka shakti, when there is a discernment, correct, self-blame, when there is a discernment, आप सही कम से कम सोच रहे हो, आपकी विवेक शक्ति कम से कम है. परिस्थिति डिफिकल्ट है, बट आपकी सोच कम से कम सही है. Then you will not make this error. So what happens? आत्म विद्या जिसमें है, विवेकी है, they do not make such conclusions. So as a result of which, what is their outlook to how do they see and respond to a difficult situation? To them, they are accepting it, and to them, what is dukkha? As in a state of difficult time, difficult situation. Even when there is no samarthya, capability to resolve that, उसका solution ढूंढना, उस परिस्थिति को बदलने का सामर्थ्य जब नहीं है किसी में, उसको दुख कहते हैं. I'll repeat this. When a situation comes and you do not find yourself capable of resolving that situation to making it easy for yourself. Say there is a financial loss and there is a continuous financial loss, as a result of which you find yourself becoming greater and you incur debt. And then you become a greater and greater indebted. You're not able to come out of the cycle. सामर्थ्य नहीं बन रहा means that's the word they have used. That's why I'm sticking to the word. You don't find yourself having the capacity to resolve your difficult situation. निकल नहीं पा रहे आप उससे. वो जो दुख की स्थिति है, ज्ञानी को भी अगर ऐसी स्थिति होती है, that's the point. वो उद्विग्न नहीं होता. I'm bringing two people together. एक है जो अज्ञानी है, all of us, जीव भाव में प्रारब्धवश पूर्व कर्म से past actions will bring a present situation, pleasant or unpleasant. Unpleasant situation invariably, obviously, gives a cause of dukkha, brings a cause of pain, sorrow, unhappiness. What is that unhappiness? A normal, aviveki person blames himself, condemns themselves, exaggerates his own contribution, and superimposes on his own self a state of blame, calling himself papi, is an example. Duratma, धिक्कार है, look down upon himself, etc. ये अविवेकी state है. Other person, आत्मज्ञानी, परिस्थिति would be the same. When this अविवेकी says मैं पापी हूँ, मैं बुरा हूँ, मैंने पता नहीं क्या किया होगा, etc. I don't know what I must have done I don't know why am I suffering, or there can be many other thought formations. When he says, I don't know why am I the one who has to suffer, I have never done anything wrong in my life, etc. These people, because of avivek, have taken upon themselves a state of dukkham. Whereas Atmagyani, having the same situation, मैं दुखी हूं, is udvegna. Udvegna means disturbed state of mind by these words. Madhusudana Saraswati has done anuvada of that state of mind. जब मन व्याकुल होता है, हम तो जनरलाइज कर दिए, व्याकुल मन. अविद्या में you have a state of mind which is disturbed. We stop at that. The greatness of these acharyas is that they are able to pinpoint and put it down. What is that vyakulta? What is that udvegata? That udvegana, man, jnani mein, parasthiti remaining the same, does not have that. वो उद्वेगित नहीं होता. क्यों नहीं होता? Because that viveka, that atma vidya, that atma is akarta, abhokta. I am not even a bhokta. So even when the parasthiti has come and I have no samarthya to change the parasthiti in the present times, entirely by my understanding and knowledge, entirely based on my knowledge, my mind can remain anudvigna, will not be perturbed, will not be disturbed by the same situation because of knowledge. Is this clear?
Yes, Dipti ji.
Would someone like to repeat this so that I am able to summarize it?
I can
Try.
If you need to,
Okay.
you
No,
say
no,
it.
you go. No, I'll follow you. You go.
Okay. So in this you've tried to explain how a Gyani versus a Gyani will react to the same situation they are met with, right? So the ups and downs in life will come for both, right? So not to suppose that, since you've got ज्ञान तो आप free हो गए, आपने सब पा लिया, वो नहीं होता है. So when you are faced with the same difficult situation, and Agyani will start blaming himself for the situation. He will say, "मैंने कुछ किया होगा, something must have gone wrong." He'll start, making himself an excuse why this situation has come. And the Jnani will say that, okay, a difficult situation has come, so it will not shake him up, and he'll not be like, he'll start blaming himself for everything that is happening. He would probably take it like, okay, there is a downtime, and it will pass. So that's what I understood.
Correct. Absolutely. Neetu ji, you have anything to add to that?
So he accepts the situation. That's all. He relates
He
to
will,
it, except, yeah.
correct. He will just live through it.
He doesn't
He
get
knows,
disturbed by it.
correct. He doesn't get disturbed by this. He knows it has come prarabdha vasha. Whatever has come by prarabdha has to also go. It is anitya. Being anitya, being temporary, being anitya, being temporary, it is bound to go away in time. What will be the quality necessary then?
Samatvam.
Samachitoshna sukha samatva. Okay.
Titiksha.
Titiksha. Excellent. See, what is he doing? He is so natural with these qualities. He has samatvam, he has titiksha. Excellent. Already there as a part of his nature. So in difficult time, his mind is not disturbed. So he's not just saying anything like any one of us has to say. In his swabhav, titiksha is established. वो तितिक्षु है. Naturally, forbearance for a difficult time is there. What happens to an agyani? He does not have titiksha. He wants to change. He is still a karta. He still wants a quick change because his happiness seems to be at stake on an external condition. But for a jnani, his happiness is not dependent on the external condition. It's independent of it. So he remains abiding in his own self. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. Whereas an ajnani is udvegit. And he wants his peace back. He wants happiness quickly. He wants to change the situation. And Madhusudana Saraswati says, there is that rajoguna which expresses as udvegana. And this self-condemnation, this self-blame, this self-arrogation of a situation or also of something else outside. You may even blame it outside somewhere. Tumhare karan, etc., etc. All that is a tamasic aspect of it. So because these gunas overtake the person, there is mental disturbance and loses the clarity, loses the sattvic nature of the mind to reveal a situation and see what has to be done. Seeing that, he says, this jnani, uska lakshan hai, a difficult situation, he holds it through titiksha. anudvega. So what is our learning? As much as close we get towards it, that is the aspect of it. When we say Jnani doesn't have a samarthya, means there are certain situations which come because of prarabdha, which nobody will have a samarthya. Prarabdha ka matlab hi wo hai that it will only get exhausted by experience. Prarabdha karma you cannot change. Therefore, the understanding of that situation helps him deal with it. Yes? So, that is the first part. Then he said, Sukheshu vigata spruhaha. So, what happens in Sukha? When there is a Sukha situation, prarabdhavash, nice situation, we are having a comfortable time, we have enough of financial security and harmony in relationships and everything. So, what is happening to an agyani when a situation is favorable, when it's conducive, when everything is right in their life? What happens to an agyani? He says, I want to have more of it. The Trishna develops there. Trishna means that desire ki meri ye sthiti, parasthiti should last. I should have more of it. I should get more and more of happiness. Harsha, that there is no good word in English. Happiness is such a pale word. Happiness is such a stale word. Harshit hota hai man. When there is harsh inside and it comes up as I want more and more of this, and it should not be lost in time. It is almost like at that time a mind which is like fire, and you put fuel in it, and no, fire will say, I have had enough. So when there is a good situation, happy, conducive situation, bringing happiness, to such a person, the mind is, give me more. Give me, ye dil mange more. I don't know if the ad still stays in the, ye dil mange more. That is a state of Trishna. What about Atma Vidya, the one who has Atmavan? What is his sthiti? His sthiti is that he does not have any spruha. Vigata spruha. Sukheshu. Even in happiness, good conditions, that Trishna that this should last, this should be more, I want of this, doesn't come, it's gone. That is how he is Sama, because he understands, the person understands, this has also come and it will also go. Life being a movement of expression of my prarabdha karma, it will bring pleasant situations, it will bring unpleasant situations. If a pleasant situation has come, he lives it without developing further. He cannot develop. He is a jnani. लक्षण ज्ञानी का है, उसमें बनती नहीं है, स्वाभाविक दृष्टि नहीं है कि he wants more of it, वृत्ति नहीं है. He is established in his own state of तृप्ति. आत्मा से ही उसकी तृप्ति है, आत्मा आनंद ही उसका आनंद है, and he knows it doesn't change. But the happiness that has come from outside, situational dependent happiness that comes, that situational happiness is bound to be flexible, will come and will go. He doesn't mistake that to his own self. Now we
Will
have
there
to
be
start.
gratitude, Deepti ji,
Sorry?
or no?
Sorry?
For a jnani, will there be gratitude? Like grateful that it has come, though it will go some, he knows.
Gratitude means there is the other. आप grateful हो, grateful means what? आभारी हो, means आपके अंदर द्वैत बुद्धि है. किसके आभारी हो? That means I am living in a state of blessing. I consider it a blessing. Then my jnana is not complete. Atma Vidya is showing that absolute state where there is no other. He himself is Purnam. The person is Purnam. So gratitude is a state of a sadhak when you're practicing the value. Then yes, gratitude is an expression of being grateful, but with knowledge that this is not going to last. So I take my help in the stability, equanimity of my mind with knowledge, but I'm grateful at the same time because my rag and my dvesh, my ahankar should not rise. Therefore, I remain in gratitude. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
So, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. And I said this is important to know. Vita gone. Chala gaya. Toot gaya. Given up. Vigata. What is your childhood with reference? All of us can say it. We are all in that age group. What is our childhood? Hindi mein bolo. What is our childhood?
Balavastha.
What is our childhood today?
याद है.
Yaad hai. With reference to what I'm saying. Chala gaya.
बीत गया.
Beet
Ah.
gaya.
Vigata.
Vigata. Ah, that is vigata. Correct. चला गया. आ सकता है वापस? नहीं. That is called vigata. For good. From whom? Look at the three words. So beautiful they are. From whom? Vita, vigata, raga, bhaya, krodha. जिसमें जिसके राग, भय और क्रोध विगत हो गए हैं, चले गए, for good, gone, destroyed. You can never touch them again. They cannot be remembered also. They're not there. They're not existent. Remembered, okay, fine, you can probably. They're not existing. Vigata is that. For good, it has gone. What has gone? Raga. The first word, raga. How is rag formed? Rag by very word is. The dhatu is ranjana. Ranj. Ranj means that which colors. Rangta hai. Rangna word comes from Hindi ka rang also is the same. Ranj. Rangta hai. जो आपके विषयों से, ऑब्जेक्ट से मन को रंगता है, एंड मन जो रंगा हुआ है वो अपने विषयों पे रंगता है. I'll repeat this. What is colored mind? You know, when we say your mind is colored, What is the best way to say your mind is colored in English only? It is said, your mind is biased, your mind is prejudiced, your mind is preconditioned, your mind is colored. We use that term, isn't it? Your mind is colored. Sometimes you do a good deed in the world, but the other receiver of the good deed is so colored by their own raga and dvesha that, here in this example it will be dvesh, that they will not recognize the goodness in you and they color you by their own dvesh. Sometimes your own rag colors overlooks situations outside. Rangta hai. It's like you're wearing tainted glasses. When you wear tainted glasses, it's giving a different shade to how you see things. Rag is a mind which is tainted by its own, what it calls as shobhana. What is shobhana? A form of perception which you impose upon objects, calling them, looking upon them as a source of your joy, happiness. When you look upon objects as a source of your happiness, I'll take an example. In the present world today, especially in our younger generation, there are a lot of means for instant happiness and pleasure. Especially the instant gratification in the form of abusive drugs. Now, people, and it's quite rampant, it's not a personal 1, 2, 3, 5. It's very rampant. It's in the world. It's not here or there. There is a wave of knowledge, understanding, so-called acceptability amongst the youth, where they feel that they do better by some chemical intake. Their performance increases by some chemical intake. They can concentrate better, etc., etc. Now, in this example, it's an example. Now, in this example, on that object which on consumption you feel it will enhance your capability, what have you done on the object? How do you look at the object?
You have put a value to it. You've said
put a
it's
value
something.
to it, and as a desirable object, it gets a desirable value. You have imposed upon it that this object can give me happiness. The same object, somebody else, they may not impose upon it. वो नहीं कहते कि this will give me happiness. That means object is not claiming. Object doesn't have written on it that I will give you happiness. विषय में नहीं है, विषयों में नहीं है कि वो आनंद दे रहे हैं कि नहीं दे रहे हैं. The power is not there in the object to claim that can give you happiness or not. Is this point clear? Made clear? विषयों में वो power नहीं है. They don't claim. An ice cream doesn't claim that I will give you happiness. A chocolate doesn't claim that I will give you happiness. Coffee doesn't claim that I will give you happiness. Food doesn't claim that I will give you happiness. Alcohol doesn't claim that I will give you happiness. Object is not expressing itself to say I am an object of happiness. And another object is not expressing itself to say I am an object of dukkham, pain. A rose is not claiming I am an object of happiness. A thorn is not claiming I am an object of pain. But you are imposing pleasure upon a rose and pain upon a thorn, whereas thorn is actually so beneficial for the plant. So a rose may not look at a thorn the way I look at a thorn. For a rose, a thorn is its protection. It is meant for its nature has provided it. I'm bringing the example because next verse, very soon, we are going to get that example of a tortoise. Nature has, you know how you have this lizard, chameleon? Beautiful to see how it changes colors according to its environment. किसने दी है उसको ये शक्ति? But I look upon it as दुख का कारण, सुख का कारण. Watch the words. I look upon the rose as सुख का कारण. मुझे आनंद मिलता है. That's why we all love receiving flowers. They bring us a source of brightness, optimism, joy. And now further, to make it a commercial activity, flowers also are added with a meaning. So this means, this flower means this emotion, this means, who has done all this? A yellow rose means this, a red rose means this, a pink rose means this, and there are many, many such flowers, and they mean this and this. Who has done this? Your mind has projected a imposition, has projected an imposition, has done an imposition that this object is perhaps a source of my happiness now or later. मेरे आनंद का ये स्तोत्र है, मेरे आनंद का ये वार है, मेरे आनंद का ये मार्ग है, मेरा आनंद है यहाँ पे. हमने उस पे प्रोजेक्ट किया है that my happiness is in that probably. So if I get this, I will be happy. आनंद का मेरे. I have identified it as a source. When there is a leakage in one of your instruments, say taps, or the better example, when there is seepage in your wall, the concealed walls and roofs, and there's a seepage, and a plumber has to identify where is the seepage coming from. What does he go? He traces it back and back and back, and he has to identify the source. And then he pinpoints, leakage is from here, therefore your wall is seeping. The water is seeping into your wall. Source is identified. Exactly the same way, we look upon objects and we identify them as sources of our hopeful pleasures and hopeful pain. We project कि इसमें से शायद दुख है, इसलिए we want to avoid it. इसमें सुख है, so we want. This imposition, ranjanatmaka buddhi, colored perception upon objects is what is called rag, formation of rag. राग जहां होता है वहां द्वेष है. So this object is of value to me. It is a source of my happiness, projected to be a source of my happiness. I can get my anandam from here, perhaps. So I'm ready to invest my time and energy and efforts in that direction. And many of us invest years sometimes with the hope that this will give me happiness sometime. बड़े साल हम निकाल देते हैं same effort में. We are getting no joy from it at that time, but we are anticipating I will get joy. That is called Shobhana Adhyasa. Imposing a Shobhana. Shobhana means Shubh, जिसको हम शुभ समझेंगे. Enamored value. When we have Shobhana Adhyasa in Vishaya objects, that time you have a Ranjanatmaka Vritti. Your Vritti, your thought has got colored. It has become biased. It has become narrowed. It has become limited. It is colored. By your hope, शोभना अध्यास जो आप कर रहे हो उस ऑब्जेक्ट पे, it has got colored by that. That what happens in the case of a jnani? Vigata ragaha. उसमें वो शोभना, he doesn't plant anything on the objects. What are objects meant for? Are they a source of happiness? What are objects meant for?
They are to be used. If they are given, you use them. Yeah.
Now, what are the objects that are there? You have objects for your survival and only for your survival. What else are objects for? What else is a pot for? A pot is meant for? Use it.
For its utility.
For its utility. For every life to live, to conduct life, we have multiplied and complicated our life because of our multiple desires in multiple areas, spread in multiple directions. हमने अपने आनंद को ऐसे फटाफट से शोभना अध्यासा में मल्टीप्लाई कर दिया है कि इधर 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 इधर. So we have spread ourselves in many areas. To assist us, correct. हमने अपने आनंद को बिखेर दिया है बहुत चीजों. That's how we have become desire ridden. We want it from objects, we want it from comforts, we want, जब गर्मी होती है तो we want to be comfortable, जब ठंडी होती है तो we want to be comfortable, जब बारिश होती है तो we want to be comfortable, जब खाने का टाइम होता है तो we want variety. And then now there are many ways, this diet and that diet and this, that and that and that. And so now for this now I want. We know how the desires have multiplied. Then we have relational desires, then they spread into more desires, and their desires get imposed on you, then you have to fulfill their desires. And that is how we have become a complete desire-ridden person. And by very soon in our life, we lose actually the main purpose of our life, because we are constantly in the area of fulfilling our desires. Ye puri, because now he is going to say it further. When you have desires, then you must also have to fulfill them for your happiness to be felt. Now, when you do not have when you are fulfilling the desire and there is in the process of fulfilling the desire, in the first layer, if it is fulfilled, there are only two things that can happen. इच्छा पूरी होगी या नहीं होगी. First, before that, राग है तो द्वेष होगा. उसके बाद इच्छा पूरी होगी कि नहीं होगी. अगर पूरी हो गई, again back to what will be your response? You want to hold on to it, isn't it? If I have found a source of happiness, if I looked upon a person that if I get this person in my life, I'll be the happiest person in my life. Now what will happen? That person must last with me, because then only my happiness will last. But supposing there is another person who also thinks the same about this person. Now there is like there is one source but two seekers for it.
There's a tug of war.
There is a tug of war between two people. There's like a competition between two people. Both of them are depending on happiness on the same person. What will happen to the one who thinks himself to not have enough in comparison to the other person? उसके मन में क्या विकार होगा? दूसरा इंसान उससे ज्यादा है, उसके मन में क्या विकार आएगा?
All negative feelings will start coming in.
All negative feelings will start coming in. Identify within the context of the verse. क्या होगा? Start thinking.
राग द्वेष.
This. So you either you get jealous, or you get upset, or you get frustrated.
Correct. He will feel less than the other person, and when he feels less than the other person, there is fear of losing. Instant fear will come. विकार होगा. जो आपको मिल चुका है आनंद, उसको खोने का भय होगा. And अगर कोई और constant, the world is in an open exposure. So there will be always a nature to the vikar in the mind to express as fear. The fear will express itself. What will happen to the jnani? There is no fear. Vita bhaya. Uska raag gaya. And therefore, bhaya gaya. Because bhaya ka karan raag hai. So if there is fear, it's traced back to rag. And rag is traced back to that feeling of vacuum, that feeling of incompleteness, that feeling of wanting more, etc. It goes back. So, such a person who is established in Vidya, Atmani eva Atmana tushtaha, Vigata ragaha, automatically Vigata, automatically next Vigata will be
Krodha.
Fear.
Fear. At this point, we've still come only to fear. Uska bhai bhi gaya. He doesn't have fear. Now, what happens when your object of desire is met and there is someone else as a competitor, but you are more better than the other? So what will happen? So what will happen?
So you get a feeling of pride.
You get a feeling of pride and you get a feeling of superiority. And if that person is interfering with your happiness and you are more supreme, what will happen? because of
And
that
you put like
superiority. You
you
will
put down the other person.
you will put down the other person, and the reaction of that of your mind will be what? Not envy, no.
Ego.
Ego, anger. You will
Krodha.
have क्रोध.
Krodh. Okay.
How will you have क्रोध? क्रोध कब आएगा? जब आपके पास है,
Because
मगर कोई बीच में बार बार who's not as adequate, but बार is, and you feel you are superior. You have samarthya to hold it, but someone else is constantly, you will get anger. Anger is also a product of rag. So there is fear of losing, and there is anger when you have something. And that anger, instita prajna, vigata, gone. Because atmaniyeva atmana tushtaha, and has already given up all desires. Sarvan kaman parityagaha, has already prajahati. Yada kaman, when all the kamas have already been, he doesn't need kamas. He doesn't need desires. Why doesn't he need desires? Bullseye. Who's going to get it? Why doesn't he need desires?
Because it doesn't fulfill him anymore. And it's not the source of happiness for him.
Exactly.
because he's tushta. He's tushta.
Why is he tushta?
Because he's realized कि बाहर कुछ होना ही नहीं है, कुछ ऐसी चीज है ही नहीं जो मुझे पूरा कर सके. तो why?
क्यों उसको ऐसी realization
क्योंकि
हुई?
मैं खुद ही I am complete in myself. I don't need any
Exactly. He is complete in himself. There is Purnatvam. He is already akarta. Atma is akarta. Atma is abhokta. Go back to the verses that Krishna said from 12th, 11th onwards. 12th to 28th. Atma is that. He knows that now. He is not a jiva. Therefore, of knowing who he is, absolutely. And excellent. He has alam pratyay. He doesn't need anything more. आनंद में है वो अपने. So vikata spruha has, I'm sorry, vita raga bhaya krodha. The one from whom all this is gone. Rag gaya, bhaya gaya, krodh gaya, जिसमें से ये सब गया, वो मुनि है. We did this last time. He has gone through Balyavastha, Pandityavastha, and is now Muni through Shravanam, Manana, Nididhyasana. He is now accomplished it. Now, when in the external world you go through education, say in the education sector itself, when are you called an accomplished scholar? Anybody knows? When are you an accomplished scholar? Nobody knows. When are you an accomplished scholar?
When you've done your graduation or when you've done your studies, which is
You've done
slated.
your PhD, you've presented papers here, there, and everywhere, and you are now an accepted scholar. There is nothing more left in terms of education for you to. You can go into research now, and you will do your research further. But now you have accomplished. On your PhD, that's your final degree, you have accomplished. You can do double PhD, but you're accomplished it. हो गया है. External world education, accomplishment means this is, you cannot go any further now. You can only do thinking, research, independent if you want, and etc., which people do, scientists. आत्मा विद्या में accomplished क्या है? स्थित धीहि. When your knowledge is available to you at all times, irrespective of the conditions and irrespective of the situations, and your mind doesn't waver into happiness and unhappiness, it is ever in a state of independent happiness. Reveling within oneself, by oneself, freed of the fulfillment of desires or independent of it. The desires don't exist for him. Sthita prajnaha, sthita dhihi, muni uchyate. He is sthita dhi. उसी को मुनि कहते हैं. Is the verse clear enough?
Easily, is this possible in a grahastha ashram though?
For a grahastha ashram, what is my? It is possible, yes. From Shastra Drishti, a grahasthi can also be a jnani. King Janaka is given as an example for that. He was a ruler and he was an Atmajnani. There were people who would come to learn from him also. Ideally, as a possibility, a grahastha can be a jnani.
In fact, that is more of a testing situation.
Exactly.
Because you come across it every minute of your day.
Absolutely. And therefore, establishment in it would be Atmajnani. Before that, this is your practice. Whether you are in a grahastha ashram or you are in a sannyas ashram, it will remain the same. He will say it in the 4th chapter. A little more details about these two. 3rd chapter, he will give more details about this. So even in a sannyas ashram, you are still a sadhak. You will still have the same practices to go through. Whether you're in a pravritti marg or a nivritti marg. Yes, in a nivritti marg, establishment is easier because you've already learned to give up. Whereas in a pravritti marg, there are unknown challenges that erupt every day. But it can strengthen you. It can firm your knowledge far better. It will test you and assure you if you succeed in it. If you have accomplished it, you know that you have crossed a border. You know that you have crossed a ground. Because a normal situation that could be very difficult in other times for another grahasth, you know that through knowledge you are crossing it. So for a grahastha ashram, it is very possible, and this is what he says. So I'm going to repeat this again so that we don't miss out on the thought flow. Atma Vidya is the final objective, and only that can give you complete peace and happiness and a state of no seeking anything at all. For that, you have to qualify. Your mind has to qualify. Why does it have to qualify? Because we are holding sanskars in us, we are holding responsive behavior in us, we are holding raga, dvesha, etc. In a state of jivatvam, we are holding alpa buddhi, not alam, alpa buddhi, smallness. We are holding that in us. That needs to be freed first. मन को इसको फ्री करना इन चीजों से. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. You have to free it to some extent. Karam yoga is prescribed. For Karam Yoga, we have studied this now to some extent. When Karam Yoga is giving Chitta Shuddhi, you will find yourself more tuned to Atma Vichar through Shravanam and Mananam. And automatically, the mind is establishing freedom from these relative samsari क्लेशास जिसमें मन जाके अटकता है. मन कहाँ जाता है? अपनी गति लेता है, इस प्रॉब्लम में, उस प्रॉब्लम में, इसके दोष में, उसके दोष में, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. मन स्थिर होता है. That स्थिरता is being spoken of here as ना सिर्फ मन की, but as निधिध्यासन through the knowledge, बुद्धि में स्थिरता आ जाती है. And that buddhi ki sthirta that is available all the time to the person is now being given as a state of practice by identifying these lakshanas. What will they do? Are these practices also going to give you Atma Gyan? If you supposing don't do Karam Yoga and anything and you just abide in these practices, will this practice automatically take you to Atma Gyan? This is a very subtle question. I was wanting to write, but I think I'll just ask. What is the question I'm asking? Now we are doing the portion of Sthita Prajna. We have said, the Shastra, the teachers have said that by giving us these lakshanas, they become lakshya for us. For sadhak, they are practices to imbibe. They are their ideals. When you have an ideal in front of you, you can practice looking at them. So you try and imbibe these qualities in your life. My question is, because the topic is Sthita Prajna, we are talking on one hand of an established Jnani. If I continue to practice these qualities, imbibe his qualities, will I become a Jnani?
Yes, that's the reason
It's a
why they
double-edged question.
I think yes, because that's the reason why you said that, you should do Ishwar Arpitam, right? Because you are trying to imbibe those or trying to, get those qualities. So it
In
would be the
Ishwar Arpitam is Ishvara is Brahman itself. Right?
yeah.
So these qualities will take you there. That's the principle of Upasana. These दुख में मन को उद्विग्न नहीं करना, सुखों को स्पृहा नहीं करना, मन में अपने राग भय क्रोध को बढ़ाना नहीं. Keep your mind स्थित अपने कर्तव्य में. Supposing 56th verse का ये practice है. Right?
Yeah.
Will this practice over a period of time make you a Jnani automatically?
No, you still have to deepen your experience on this
Qualify
path.
you. It can qualify you, but
Excellent. It will still qualify you. We are not to mistake it that by following these qualities, हम स्थित प्रज्ञा बन जाएंगे. By following these qualities, we will still be in the qualifying ground. Karam Yoga is giving us qualification. These are giving you qualification. Difference is, Karam Yoga is incorporating Ishvara Arpanam itself. It is more encompassing. These qualities you will find building automatically when you are doing Karam Yoga. That is why he said Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. You will find the reduction of desires. You will find your anger gone. You will find your attachments gone. You will find your desires reducing. You will find your freedom from all negative emotions. This portion has come as a question that Arjuna asked to identify who that person is, so that he is able to keep himself motivated like all of us. And Acharyas have said they become our lakshanas. So even if you forget them, these verses are easy to follow. But we should not get deluded that they will replace the Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. That the Stitadhi he has done, for which he became Stitadhi, from which he became. So qualification, knowing the right knowledge, reflecting, this is a part of reflection. This question that I asked is a part of reflection. If you are studying, if you are reflecting, your question will be, kya sthita prajna ke lakshanon mein, if I absorb them, is that done? Will I have no more work left to do? Will I become a sthita prajna in time? No, you will still need jnana yoga. Atma, anatma, vivek, फिर भी करना है. So when you're practicing these values, they are taking you to the avastha of sthita prajnata. But mananam and nididhyasanam will make you sthita prajna. Is this clear?
Yes, Deepti.
Very, very clear, Dipti ji. Very clear.
Excellent. Because it's very important. A lot of people mistake you, because we don't think actually. Mistake is out of non-thinking. You just conclude. You don't mistake, you conclude कि ये follow करते रहेंगे तो हम भी स्थितप्रज्ञ बन जाएंगे. And there are so many schools in the world today. There are sampradayas in the world who will tell you sthita prajna is an absolute thing to follow. That is, and what do they say is from the lakshana of samatvam. Samatvam is an absolute necessity, no doubt about it. But it is not till your prajna is samatva. Your gyan has to be samatva. Atma gyan has to be samatva.
Because all these qualities are not visible, isn't it? Because all these things, they're all inside.
Correct.
So how can you follow? You have to experience it.
You have to practice it in your situations. दुखों में मन को प्रभावित नहीं करा. And now I have, thanks to Madhusudana Saraswati, we have a little more clarity on the thought. When would you call it dukh hai? When you find that despite my effort, I'm not able to change the situation. तभी वो दुख का कारण बनता है ना. Can anybody give an example? Because it's very relatable to, I think, 90% of the people. You will always have one situation in life which is making you very unhappy. And you realize that the cause of your unhappiness is that you are not able to change that situation. That is why you are unhappy. आप सामर्थ्य ही नहीं है, means you cannot change it. For example, if you have a partner who's all the time drinking,
A tough relationship,
which means
like
you cannot change another person's.
Yeah. Mostly that is what happens. You can't change the other
Exactly.
person and you are sad about it.
Exactly. Absolutely. A close one's death, for example. Excellent. Yes. Now that is dukh ka karan. The chota dukh is not really dukh. If I wanted an object and I didn't get it, I wanted a Mercedes, I didn't get it, I'll be dukhi for some time. But if I have a samarthyam, I'll run for it again. तो वो दुख मेरा बहुत टेम्पररी है. बट जो दुख पकड़ लेता है और छोड़ता नहीं है, वो दुख है जिसको हम बदल नहीं पा रहे सिचुएशन को. तो उसमें मन जो अनुद्विग्न हो रहा है, our practice becomes मन को अनुद्विग्न नहीं बनाना ऐसी सिचुएशन में. बिकॉज ज्ञानी का मन फ्री है. That means it is possible to be free. By these lakshanas, what do we get? When our mind doesn't see a possibility, like you just asked a question, is it possible for grahasthashram? When we think that these things are impossible, they tell us they are possible. ये possible है. Otherwise, gyan becomes useless to follow. Okay? So, very important verse. And now all these verses are very important and they throw a lot of deep meaning into the vyavharik and paramarthik jivan dono mein. Now we'll just start the next verse, 57th verse. I think we have concluded it fairly well without doubts for now.
Deepti, just one little thing. ये स्थित प्रज्ञ और स्थिति are exactly synonym, or if I missed anything?
Synonyms. Dhihi is referring to buddhi. Pragnya is referring to knowledge. बुद्धि में वो ज्ञान होता है. तो जिसकी बुद्धि स्थित हो गई है उस ज्ञान में. So it is, both of them are actually referring to the person who has Atma Vidya. They are compound words. They are bahuvrihi in that sense, samasa, which refers to the person. जिसकी बुद्धि स्थित हो गई है वो इंसान स्थितधीहि कहलाता है. You put it in the first case. स्थितधीहि, that's two visargas after that. जिसकी प्रज्ञा स्थित हो गई है वो स्थित प्रज्ञः कहलाता है. Okay?
Okay.
So, we'll just start. We still have 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. Yah sarvatraanabhisnehaha tat tat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati na tveshti tasya prajna pratisthita. Yas sarvatraanabhisnehaha tat tat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati na tveshti tasya prajna pratisthita. Last phrase of the second line again, easiest to understand. Tasya prajna pratisthita. Uski prajna pratisthit hai. This knowledge is now established. When do you know that your knowledge is established? How do you know that your knowledge is established? Whose knowledge is established? Yaha, his, wo, jo bhi, anyone, person, not his, person, his, her. Yaha, जिसकी, जो भी. कौन है? सर्वत्र anabhisnehaha. Whoever is, everywhere, sarvatra. Anabhisnehaha. Snehaha is, जब राग है तो स्नेह है. Sneha is for fondness for things that you have shobhana adhyasa in. You have imposed an extra value of happiness upon. स्नेह बनता है उन चीजों के लिए. Fondness. Abhisneha. Lot of fondness. Established fondness. Anabhisnehaha. Na abhisnehaha. Anabhisnehaha. Has no snehaha. He is everywhere, with everyone, in every situation, but has no exclusivity with anything or anyone. That extra fondness for anyone or anything, any situation, he doesn't have. Sarvatra anabhisnehaha. He is not in any form seeing anything as excessive cause of sukha When we see it as a cause of being sukha, we have sneha for it, not being preferential. Correct. Yah sarvatra anabhisneha tat tat prapya shubha shubham ashubham. Shubham ashubham. Whatever he receives, shubham or shubham, na abhinandati na dveshti. For whatever shubham he receives, na abhinandati. He doesn't have rejoice, abhinandan. Nandan, enjoyment, abhinandan, rejoicing in it. Na abhinandan, not rejoicing. He doesn't rejoice when he gets something shubham. Na dveshti, ashubham. When he gets something which is ashubham, he does not have any repulsion, resistance, wish for it. And everywhere he is anabhisneha, neutral gear. I call it neutral gear. He remains a neutral gear. And it's a great practice to be in a neutral gear. Na adhik sneh kisi se, na adhik dvesh kisi se, vair kisi se. Same bhav, keeping the same bhav for everyone. And that's not very difficult, really speaking. If you do a little Karam Yoga also, or any of the above two qualities, you find it's one of the easier ones to establish. Excessive rag nahi rakhoge to excessive sneh nahi hoga. For Shubham and Shubham, he neither has abhinandati nor dveshti. His prajna remains established. Can remain established, no? Now look at the contrast. Shubham say, if we start rejoicing, then naturally with Ashubham, what will happen? If I win a lottery, I'll be happy. If I wanted money and I win a lottery, if I was in need of money and I win a lottery, स्वाभाविक दृष्टि से क्या होगा? आनंद होगा. Nothing wrong. 2 classes ago, I explained that स्वाभाविक आनंदम is in its place. आनंद होगा, correct. Nobody denies that. But if you want to be growing, then इस आनंद में मुझे इतना हर्षित नहीं होना. It is come. Thank God. Yes, as you say. Gratitude. When I needed, I got it. I don't have to be elated. Oh, I am blah, 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 blah. I don't have to have such elation. Such a one. Anabhisneha. No extra preference to anyone or anything. Doesn't look upon anyone or anything as having a greater value. उसकी प्रज्ञा स्थित हो सकती है ना, naturally. If you are going to jump because I got a lottery, then what natural when I lose it? You see it on reality shows, no? Some young children, when they have won, after a few years, they're extremely depressed because they didn't imagine the contrast. Prajna pratisthita ka condition hai. It is mandatory that you have certain equanimity when you look at things in the same drishti. Later on, he is going to say, a jnani will look upon a lump of a stone, a lump of clay and gold, and something not so pleasurable to look at. He looks at all of them with the same drishti. Has the same value to it. So, we'll continue this verse. Oh, tomorrow. Tomorrow Sunday. Oh, yes, tomorrow. We'll continue this
See,
verse.
what happens? So how do you remove your attachment to people who are very near and dear? I mean, actually losing them just brings so much emotion. So how do you I know the things you have said, but honestly, it doesn't sit only that time. I mean, I know everything. I know a wise person should not grieve. I know all of the things you've taught, but why does that fear just take over everything at that point? I mean, I'm just circumstantially asking, like, what
Yeah.
happens?
It is because of our past entertained force of thoughts which have gained force today, and the counter thoughts of knowledge like this are not adequately forceful to displace those thoughts. So they take over. With continuous practice, with continuous assertion of knowledge, they get lesser and lesser. Because as I said, स्वाभाविक होना तो है ही है, ये सबके साथ है. That is why Arjun is also in this condition. But बिना साधना के, बिना practice के, just having an intellectual appreciation and not bringing that intellectual appreciation of knowledge into your, every time thought picks up, you have to have the purusharth to displace it. I have one example that I have always given because I did it, so I know the difference of it, and because I did it at a young age, it stayed with me. I have forgotten the name of the movie, of the song now, but Kati Patang is a movie. I'm sure most of us have heard it. Our generation people may have heard. I don't know if the newer people have heard. Kati Patang was. Hanji?
I've heard the movie. It's very famous.
Yeah. So I was in, I think, 10th or 12th. I don't remember which, but I think probably 12th board exams when this movie was coming on the television. And in those times, we used to have only movie once a week on television or something like this. And this movie was scheduled on Sunday evening, and Monday morning, there was a paper, there was an exam, or Tuesday, whatever. Details are irrelevant. And there was a particular song that I was very fond of. I've really forgotten the song now, so please don't ask. But there was a song, I remember the movie and I remember the exercise. So I remember this. Because of that song, I really wanted to, there was a great temptation. And that movie, and in those days, it was not like you can watch it on, kal dekh lenge, but it was not. It was, my mind looked upon it as an opportunity on one hand. I could see that song. I would be gratified. I would be fulfilled if I watched the movie. The other part of me said, this is also an opportunity to practice how can you resist it. दोनों thoughts साथ साथ चले. एक thought बोला, this is an opportunity to fulfill myself. The other thought said, this is also an opportunity to see how can I resist this. And life is long. Who knows? Sometime else, it's not like you can forever not see it. You can see it some other time. Who's denying it? Some other time, maybe we'll get it out. Who knew that the world of internet will come, and who knew the world of, on your tips, you will have all the enjoyments. Nobody knew at that time. So it was a very big thing for my mind to say, am I resisting it, or I have studied enough, it's okay, it doesn't matter, tomorrow morning I can get up early and study. On one hand, that argument is going on. And the other hand said, but this is a direct opportunity to see if I can resist. If I can resist once in my life, a temptation so strong as this, maybe I will have that as memory to say I can resist an equally strong temptation at another point. Who knows what life brings to you? I may need that will sometimes. I may need that courage sometimes. Who knows? So let me try that. And sure enough, my mind was terribly reactive. I just stayed in my room. I will not get up from my seat. I couldn't concentrate, obviously, as well as I should have. I did not study as well as I should have. But sure enough, I did not see the movie. I just took it as an opportunity. After that, next day morning when I woke up, I would not have known the strength if I had not done this. The strength I had the next day morning, the feeling of lightness that I had next day morning was unbelievable to me, because it just told me what is the right direction. That lightness that you felt by resisting a temptation, if I had fulfilled the temptation, what could I have felt the next day? What would I have felt? Anybody? It's not unusual because we are doing it all the time.
Would have felt happy in the sense you would have had some satisfaction that you didn't follow.
But what about the second thought that I also had? Will that thought vanish?
You
You
would have felt
could have felt.
guilty.
You would have felt a little burdened. Kind of guilty, maybe. But even if it was not guilty, and if it didn't go that far as guilty, it definitely wouldn't have given the same feeling of lightness. There would have been some
Also happiness.
happiness, but also heaviness. It wouldn't have given me total happiness as this has given me the happiness of lightheartedness. That is what we mean by saying that little practice, and you will know for yourself whether it is on the right track or not. Your own mind takes a vikar. For most of us, for us, knowledge remains at the level of buddhi. वो विकार मन में आया तब तक बनती नहीं है, because you would need practice for it. So when you practice it, you're right in your place. The strength of our previous thoughts, which is swabhavik attachments, are accepted in the world. If a parent is not attached to their child, you are looked down upon. You should be. Why not? But these values, when they go along with it, your relationship gets better also. So we are prepared to some extent, to the extent you have established. Final establishment, anyway, the question won't come on. Isn't it? Yeah?
Thank you, Deepti.
We'll conclude the class here. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhave. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahish Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Deshoyam Kshobarahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Deepti ji. Hari Om.
Yes.
Thank you, Deepti ji.
That's
Hari
very
Om.
nice. Thank you. you, Ji.
Thank you,
Hari
Devi.
Om.